Welcome back, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Notes Magodes podcast. I'm Brandon.
And I'm back.
You are back. Welcome back, Steve.
Hey, you guys missed
back.
me.
No, they
2
didn't.
weeks you didn't have. They did. They definitely missed me.
Maybe.
At least I know who RZA is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I listened.
I know that you listened. I know.
So
and
yeah,
I am
no,
very
and I know who
white.
RZA is. And yes, if you guys didn't listen to the Logic episode, Brandon has no idea who.
No. Just don't even. Just make him go back and listen, Steve. Just
Yeah,
make
go
him
back
go
and
back
listen.
and
Go
listen.
back and listen to the Logic episode. I'm not on it, and
Yeah.
I am the resident hip hop guy, which is very funny that I'm not on it.
Yeah.
Good old family issues,
But our guest was filled in very nicely.
yes, and he's amazing, and he put Brandon right to the fire, and I loved it.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
It was a great thing, but Brandon is incredibly white.
I am
as
incredibly
normal.
white.
But again, I am
Incredibly.
Steve. I am
Yes.
Steve. I am the co-host here. If you guys listened to the last couple of guest episodes, I wasn't there.
No.
Stuff happens.
Stuff
but
does
I'm
happen,
back.
but it's fine. You are back, and it is
How's it going, man?
It's going well, man. I survived without you. Realized that if you do end up leaving the podcast permanently, I can probably survive.
I like it. I like it. It's a good self-awareness.
I'm just kidding.
But you have to do everything else that I do, which is not easy.
Yeah, I'd have to hire that out.
Yeah.
We
both know you're cheap.
With the $0 that we make on this podcast.
Hey,
So,
I will tell you right now, we have 4 paid gigs. We have 4 paid gigs in June now.
that is true.
We're making money. Not a lot of money, but some.
Some money. Enough to at least go to McDonald's afterwards.
I don't know. It's getting kind of expensive.
That's true. It is. Yeah, that's true. So
you get a 4 for 4.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, it is what it is. I don't even know. I don't even have a good transition.
There's no you never do.
I was going to say, speaking of 4 for 4, but I don't have anything. I mean,
wow.
Is this number 4? No, this is number 3.
3.
Number 3. So close. So see, perfect transition. Number 3. Steve, who are we talking to today?
Guys, for the 3rd time in our very short but long history, I think, over 250 episodes, we have brought back a friend of the pod. She came on the pod about a year ago now, this month, to talk Backstreet Boys.
Mm-hmm.
Brought her back on. What did we bring you back on for? What was the other one?
In July for Hate Month for Good
Charlotte. Oh, yes, Good Charlotte Hate Month. And then I've been on her podcast a couple of times as well, on good old Crushgasm. Just recently talking about the year 1994 as well, with a side project that she was doing. But guys, today we bring back podcaster, author, all around amazing person, and this probably one of the nicest people that we know. Kendra Bolton is back on the podcast.
Beltran.
Fuck me! I gotta do that thing over again.
You're not doing it over. You know what? You said it the last time in July too.
I said Bolton in July too.
You did.
Fuck! Damn it! God.
Anyway, Kendra, welcome back.
Hey, Kendra, how's it going?
Good. Well, in a fantasy world, it would be Bolton, because then I'd be married to Troy Bolton from High School Musical. So.
I thought you were gonna say Michael.
No, oddly enough, my husband has this.
Oddly enough, she's got a bow.
That's hilarious.
Man, these TikTok clips just keep cutting themselves.
Absolutely. So, Kendra, welcome back. And
thank you for having me.
Beltran.
Yeah.
I'll get it.
Beltran.
Yep, that's it.
I can't roll the R's. I'm not that good.
No, it's all right. I may be white, but I can roll my tongue.
Yeah.
I don't. Again, another TikTok clip. Anyway. Oh, this is off the rails. Kendra, get us back. Kendra, get us back on track here. What are we talking about today?
We're talking about Linkin Park's 2000 release, Hybrid Theory.
Yes, we are.
The bonus one. We got a little extra.
Yeah, Steve.
Yeah, we did
wanted to be a little extra.
Always. I had to. One of my favorite tracks is on the bonus.
Oh.
So okay. I had to pick one of the ones in the bonus.
Paper Cut Live.
Maybe.
I've got some sass tonight. It's because you weren't here the last few weeks, Steve.
I tell you.
I have to make up for it.
He's growing more confident by the second.
Growing more confident.
Yeah, yes, he is. And it's not good for any of us.
No, not at all. So speaking of not good for any of us, Steve, let's get into our Wikipedia research on what you have on Linkin Park and this album.
Yes, I do have a good amount here. So Linkin Park is an American rock band from California. Check out episode 81 for more Linkin Park info. We did an episode with David Steves. We broke down the Collision Course album with Linkin Park and Jay-Z. Probably one of my most favorite EPs of all time. 6 tracks of just pure awesome.
Pure hip hop, rock and roll.
Oh, it's so good. So Linkin Park was active, I guess currently still, but 1996 to 2017, they are currently on hiatus. There's been some scuttlebutt about them getting back shortly, and some band members will say they're coming back, other band members not yet. Now,
which also sounds like it sounds like a lot of boy bands too. A lot of boy bands are like, maybe.
Yeah, there's a lot of scuttle.
Give and take here. Bits and pieces.
There's a lot of scuttle with some of those boy bands I've seen as well. But now they were known prior to being Linkin Park. They were actually known as I've seen that as Xero from which is XERO from 96 to 99, and then they were actually called Hybrid Theory from 99 to 2000. They didn't become Linkin Park until the year 2001. Current members here we've got Mike Shinoda is the vocals, rhythm guitar,
Shinoda.
and keyboards. Yes, that is correct. Brad Delson is on lead guitar. Joe Hahn is the DJ. He does the turntables. Dave Farrell is on bass, and Rob Borden is on drums. Past members is Chester Bennington. Was a lead vocalist until 2017. We'll get into more of that in a minute. The band is categorized as alternative rock, but incorporated hip hop and heavy metal early on. They're nu metal. If you guys aren't aware of what nu metal is, Linkin Park is nu metal. And they since they branched off of the nu metal vibe, and towards the end of this run, they did go more electronic and pop. They added a lot more in there. It got really away from the heavier stuff, which a lot of bands did in the 2010s. They had 7 studio albums, 3 live albums, now 68 music videos. Oh, that was interesting. Wow. 35 singles. 11 of their singles of the 35 have reached number 1 on the Billboard Alternative chart, which is the second most all time. Every single one of their albums, though, was at least top 3 on Billboard. So every single one was at least top 3 on Billboard. They were the first artist to achieve 1 billion YouTube plays.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
They received 69 awards on 197 nominations, including 2 Grammys.
69.
Yeah.
Nice.
I love it. So on July 20th, 2017, it was reported that lead singer Chester Bennington committed suicide. The band played one last show honoring Chester, and they called it Linkin Park and Friends. The show was 3 hours long and was broadcast on YouTube, very similar to the recent Taylor Hawkins shows the Foo Fighters did, where they brought in other people to sing. Linkin Park brought in people to sing, where the Foo Fighters brought in people to play drums for Taylor. Since the loss of Chester, the band has stated that they've been on a hiatus. Mike has said the band has no intention of recording new music or touring anytime soon. They haven't officially broken up, but he's actually quoted in saying the math doesn't line up, and not dollars and cents. It's more mental, emotional math. They just aren't there. He's not there. Guitar player has said they're recording new music, and Mike was just like, we're not doing that. It's not happening. So not for a while. But they haven't fully pulled the plug and said we're done. It's still too fresh, even though it's been 6 years, almost 6 years now.
Which is crazy to me.
Yeah, since the loss of Chester, the band, the band also did rename their Music for Relief charity to the One More Life Fund to honor Chester. So they have their own kind of stuff. They did that. February of 2023, the band released a previously unreleased track lost to promote the 20th anniversary of their album Meteora. I don't know if you guys saw that on Spotify.
I did not.
Making rounds on Spotify, where all of a sudden they said new Linkin Park, and everybody lost their damn minds because everybody thought they were back and they were going to do more stuff. And then you hear Chester's voice, and you're like, "What the hell is that?" And it came out that it was a re-released track, or a track from Meteora that never got released. Now the 20th anniversary of Meteora is actually going to come out shortly after this podcast in April. It's been 20 years since that album dropped here, if you guys didn't know that. Now here it comes the time we talk about Spotify. How many monthly Spotify listeners do you think Linkin Park is averaging right now?
5 million.
5 million. Okay. Brandon, how about you?
9.9.
9.9. You guys are way off.
Oh.
It's high.
27.
60 million.
Brandon's closer. 33.3.
Wow.
When I did the check on this, which is probably about a month ago now, from here, so sometime mid-February I checked it. They were at 28.8.
Wow.
So in the last month or so, they've gained almost 5 million monthly listeners.
That's crazy.
I'm guessing it's because of the track Lost. It's actually been played on Spotify 40 million times.
Wow. Yeah, well, that'll do it.
Whereas like the track In the End is almost 1.5 billion times.
Oh, not surprised at all.
On Spotify. But also that's if somebody listens to a mix and it just pops up, it counts as a listen. But still, 1.5 billion. That's a big number. Hybrid Theory released October 24th of 2000. It's 12 tracks, 38 minutes long. That's the standard. I think the bonus is 15 tracks, about 49 minutes long.
40, yeah.
So it's debut studio album for the band. The album focuses on real life problems that affected lead singer Chester Bennington, including drug abuse, and the constant fighting and ultimate divorce of his parents. So lots of emotion in this album. The album only reached, and I say only, but it got to number 2 on the Billboard. It didn't get to number 1, but it's 12 times platinum, which is sold over 12 million copies. It reached the top 10 in 15 separate countries and sold over 32 million copies globally. The album was the second best-selling debut album of all time. Do you know what the first one is? We have reviewed it.
Is it Britney?
We haven't done Britney yet.
At all?
At all.
We have not done any Britney yet.
Her Oops is pop perfection.
I think that's yeah.
Might have to. I forgot about Britney. We haven't done Christina either.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do a
Mickey Mouse week.
Mickey Mouse week. Yeah. And then do JC Chazet's solo album.
Oh jeez.
Don't torture yourself.
Oh.
Okay, so who was
the best-selling debut album of all time? This one is second. Who is the best-selling debut album of all time? We have reviewed it
up to that point. Up to this year.
No, it's still the best. It's still the best-selling debut album of all time. We reviewed it this year, Brandon.
Swift.
That wasn't a debut.
Oh, that's true.
We've actually done their debut album.
Their debut
with a guest, Brandon.
Kings of Leon.
Nope. Guns N' Roses.
Oh. Yeah.
Appetite for Destruction.
Really?
Yep. However, Hybrid Theory is the best-selling rock album of the 21st century.
Okay.
Tracks.
Currently. So since the year 2000, it's been the best-selling rock album.
Yeah.
Now, August 13th of 2020, the band re-released its 20th anniversary of the album with previous unreleased track called She Couldn't. It did win the Grammy for Best Rock Performance for Crawling. It did lose Best New Artist to Alicia Keys.
That was wrong. I just don't. She's fine. She's fine. But I would have given it to Linkin Park.
Yeah.
More impactful as a whole.
And it lost Best Rock Album to U2. I would have given them over U2. I could see Alicia
Questionable.
Keys. I could see Alicia Keys, but I can't see U2. I still can't.
Oh,
We haven't
no.
done U2 either, and that's gonna be
We
a
haven't.
that'll be a hate week.
Remember when
Nobody
you
wants to.
I was gonna say, remember when you would like buy like an iPod and like U2 was already on it?
Preloaded
Mhm.
because they had to deal with Apple.
Yeah. And it's like, I
Yeah.
don't want to listen to this.
Bono, get out of here, Bono.
Yeah.
So singles had 4.
Jeez.
One step closer,
Oh yeah.
crawling, paper cut, and in the end. We're all singles
Mhm.
from here. So this means we get into our favorite tracks now. Kendra, what was your favorite track from this album?
Ooh, I have a favorite. There's so many. I think because of the beat of it, it's got a place for my head for sure.
Okay.
And just live, that was always a really good one.
All right. Brandon, what about you?
I picked Paper Cut as my favorite track.
Mhm.
Okay.
Outside of this track being popular, I think that this song really sets the tone for the album, from top to bottom, and I was all about it, especially because I'm a pretty big fan of Linkin Park. So such an incredible track. From the first note that the guitar plays, you know exactly what this track is and who it's by. There's no real denying it. So that one for me, Paper Cut, was my favorite track. So what about you, Steve?
I was the same way. I picked Paper Cut.
Yeah.
It was my favorite from the mashup album.
Mm-hmm.
And it sets the track sets up the listener for a ride that you really weren't ready for when you played this album for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
The rock vibe mixed with the DJ is amazing. We've heard it before, but not like this. This took like what like Limp Bizkit was doing to a different level.
Oh.
Or like what Sugar
Yeah.
Ray was doing to a different level.
Sugar
Because
Ray. Okay.
Yeah.
well, I mean, if you heard old school Sugar Ray,
Oh, I'm aware. My best friend was obsessed with Sugar Ray to the point where I had to see them so many times. I saw him at a horse race once.
I love the punk.
Nice.
I love the punk Sugar Ray. Like the poppier stuff I can deal with. It's more Incubus style, but I love the hardcore punk Mark McGrath. It was amazing.
Mhm.
But you haven't heard with that dual lead singer coming at it a different way, and it was good. The track really shows the duality of the band, that Mike and Chester complement each other so incredibly well, and it felt effortless how they mashed up. And I haven't seen these guys live a few times. Their chemistry was just on point. They were just right there with each other in 100% every single time.
Mhm.
Mhm. It makes me really sad. That's like they're probably the best live band I've ever gotten to see. So
Mhm.
just like not probably seeing them ever again whole breaks my heart. Like
Yeah.
I living in LA and like writing and stuff, I got to do a lot of cool stuff with Linkin
Mhm.
Park. So like they're close to my heart, and I'm really that broke me. I was like, Jester, no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
No.
I mean, I'll get into it a little bit too because there's so much stuff that happened in that time frame of him passing and what happened there, and it sucks. We talked about it a little bit recently with yeah, we did with Alice in Chains.
Mhm.
And just how this industry, we love singers and we love artists that are broken because they give so much and you can connect with them in so many different ways.
Mhm.
But then we all like kind of look past the brokenness and we're like, we really love your music. And then something bad happens and we're like, why did this happen? I'm like, you just listened to why it happened. Like, you know why it happened.
Yeah.
I
There's some
mean,
demons
like
there.
one of my favorite Linkin Park songs not on this album. Like Mike has a lyric about a noose, and I'm like, well, now
Yeah.
it's not my favorite song anymore because it's crazy. But yeah, I think though at what was I 13 when this came out, I wasn't really connecting the dots of like how hurt he was. I was just thinking like, oh,
Sure.
he's just like writing music for me. Like it's not what's going on in his life. I think that's where like the lines of being 13 at the time and being like, no, this is like for me. He's not
Yes.
hurting. It's just the music he's making, kind of like that. So
Yeah. Like it's especially when you think about that kind of thing, it's like they're writing for their fans. They're writing for what their fans are feeling or what the culture of the world is at the time, not personal experience, when in reality fans are naive to the fact that no, it's their reality, and their, and I think as the world has evolved and progressed, we've seen that shift
Mhm.
with, we are now understanding that no, people are writing their pain, and you can see the pain a little bit clearer and understand it a little bit. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And we're just
back
like,
in 2000, it
yeah.
just, it
And we're
wasn't.
just like more open about mental health now than we were
Yeah.
back then. I think if you asked your parents to go to therapy back in 2000, 2001, they would have been like, first of all, we don't have any money.
Right.
Secondly, you're fine. You're
Second of all,
fine.
just
Just
go
go outside and
outside,
play.
you can
Yeah.
get some sun. Yep,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yep.
But
There's
now, like, if you hear what your kid's listening to and it sounded like this, you'd be like, maybe we're going to get them help because I think something's going on with them.
Yeah,
It was just
absolutely.
different time in 2000.
It
yeah,
was a
and
different
I
time.
think that's gonna be, and that's where the evolution that we've come with mental health is, it's needs to evolve further, but we are getting there. We're taking the right steps, and it's, if you are following us on TikTok, I will say this for certain. I posted a video on Sunday. We post a Sunday morning unplugged video every single week because I love listening to acoustic music or just like really stripped down music, especially in the weekend when everything's kind of just chilled out. It's one of my favorite. It's actually a station on XM radio that I love to listen to. And they do a Sunday morning unplugged with pop music.
Oh,
But
nice.
I follow a TikTok account called Vosu, and it's just a group of people. They take a music video or they take an artist and they strip down all of the instruments, take everything away, and it's just the singer's voice. And the video that we posted on Sunday is Chester singing "My December,"
Mm.
Mm.
just him,
Oof.
and it's just him. He
Sure.
didn't even write that song, Mike did,
Hmm.
but you can feel every ounce of emotion, and when he lets it rip, you're just like, "Yep, yep,
Hmm.
something's wrong, something's going on," because it's not, and it's that's with everything else cut away, and you're just hearing Chester. And it's, even if you don't necessarily get the lyrics all the way, if you can't feel the pain behind those words and those eyes, it's just, oof. I listened to it and I was like, I can't even post this right now. It's like, it's emotional. I sent it to Brandon. He was just like, "Ugh, that's amazing, but it's haunting."
Yeah.
It's so haunting that you're just like, but it just cuts entirely deep. And we all know, I mean, as adults now, we're just like, yup, we should have saw it before this. We should have saw this. And I can't imagine being his friend and knowing, yup,
Yeah.
And
or his
like
wife
making
and his,
him continue to just write and be like, oh yeah, what more do you have? Because what they have several
what else can we
albums.
poke? What else can we
Yeah.
poke?
Or
And
they blame,
it's
or they say, "Oh, it'll be therapy for you if you write." And it's like,
your
yes, to
therapy,
some degree, but
but then you're singing about this every single night for
every single
200
night
days.
for years.
And no pun intended, he probably became just numb to it
Yes.
after. I mean, how many world tours did they do?
That's
They
what
were
Yeah.
like the biggest. I mean, you said that no one's beaten their record other than Guns N' Roses. Like they were.
they were.
I think they are our Nirvana. I think that is good.
It's
I
sort of,
think
I
I would
would
say
say
yeah.
that
Yeah, that's not even a hot take. I think
like
that's straight up. Yeah.
If Nirvana could have lasted a little longer, for sure. I mean, these guys were going for damn near 20 years. Um, and like this one hit in 2000, and they rode that wave. I mean, all the way through. The
To
music
the end.
didn't get bad. Yeah, and it just there. It just is such a, it's an interesting conversation,
I
and I
think
felt like,
they came at just the right time because they were
Hmm.
like you had the 1999. I always think of Woodstock. Did you guys watch the documentaries?
yes,
Yeah, and they were talking about this white male rage and what were they so mad about, da 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 da. But then you got into, I think Linkin Park slipped in right before emo, and they kind of made it. You don't have to be mad; you can also be like internally upset.
emotional.
And I really think, like we have our Blinks and we have our Green Days, but I think Linkin Park really is the little nugget of what made emo kind of burst out as a genre because it was the first time we heard in rock that you were that emotional, even though we weren't connecting the dots. It was like
Right.
connecting with us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always think Linkin Park is like the nugget that planted emo music for all of us because these lyrics, they dark.
Well,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I've realized this, Brandon, and if our listeners have picked up on this as well, man, every month this year we have had to have the suicide conversation. You notice
Hmm.
that?
whether or not it was intentional or not. The only time I've ever known about it was once when we talked about Aaron Carter. That was the only time it was ever intentional.
But every month, this month,
Yeah.
we've had to say, guys, if there's something bothering you, you got to talk to somebody. And I'm going to say it again. 988 is a resource. You can text it, you can call it, you can do anything you need to do. It's 24 hours a day. It's free. You need somebody to chat with. That you're better off here. 988. It's those 3 numbers. It's all it is.
Yep.
But you're better off here. And
absolutely.
I'll say it again. And this is not intentional. Like, we're not doing this intentionally. It's just happening.
So there's something deeper there. Maybe there's like some sort of like higher cosmos that's making us
there's
want
some
to.
karma. There's some karma stuff going on right now. And you know why there's karma stuff, Brandon?
Because we haven't done the Wang yet. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's play Wang. Let's play Wang. Word association and game.
Alrighty. As Brandon said, we have our first game, and it is the word association name game. You take the first letter of all of those words, put them together, you get the Wang.
Yep.
And you just heard Jair saying that quite frequently. So,
all the time.
Guys, I got 2 for you.
Oh, you got 2 Wangs. Okay.
I got 2.
All
Could
right.
have gone with a third one, but I kept it back.
That's what she said.
Wow. We have a nice lady on the podcast today, Brandon.
Yeah, you're right.
A nice lady.
Dorothy Mantooth is a saint. Anyway, I don't know why I thought of that quote from Anchorman right there.
Oh, jeez.
Anyway.
Oh, Pete. There's more stuff I got to cut out of the thing here. All right, first one. You guys ready?
I'm ready.
There's a cream for that.
Oh. Crawling.
Nope.
Points of authority.
Oh, it's cure for the itch.
Cure for the itch.
Yeah.
There's a cream for that.
I couldn't read my writing. I was like, I know it.
Yeah.
All right. My pillow.
A place for my head.
Place for my head.
Oh. All right. I thought you were getting political for a hot second.
Yeah, I thought about it.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that guy's name, but he's a jerk. So I was just like, no. But no.
I like it.
So a place for my head.
I like it.
Was my second one here. So that has been the word association name game. I didn't go too off kilter on this one, so I still got good points on the thing here. Don't worry, I'll screw it up later.
Yep, for sure.
With that being said, let's get into our least favorites here. Now, this is a nostalgic album for a lot of us, I'm thinking.
Yep.
Brandon, did you have a least favorite?
I did. And I picked Cure for the I picked Cure for the Itch as my least favorite track. It's just weird. To me, most of this track is generally instrumental. I just didn't think that this track fit well into what they were doing thus far up until this point. Maybe based on the track title, they were trying something new and curing the itch of working on more of that electronic type vibe. I don't know, but this track was just not for me. I thought that it was a forced placed thing. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. So
I know why it's there, but
Steve, what about you?
Same. I'm gonna get nitpicky though, because I wasn't a huge fan of the instrumental track because musically this band is not better than Incubus or even Limp Bizkit. Musically. The actual actually I believe that, and as a band, Limp Bizkit was a better band. Musically, Limp Bizkit was better than this one.
Okay.
What drove the bus though was Chester and Mike. Chester and Mike is what sold Linkin Park. That is Linkin Park as Chester and Mike.
Yeah. Okay.
They drove the bus that made this move. I'm not saying the track isn't good, but and the band isn't good. They're good. They're good what they do. They're just not above anyone else in their genre musically. Now, they also did start bringing out, they called them the Executioners, and it was a DJ group who toured with Linkin Park quite frequently. And they would come out prior to them and they would play basically a rave set with like 3 or 4 DJs would play together. For a good 35, 45 minutes. I've seen them live with Linkin Park a few times. They're not bad. It's just not my cup of tea. I'm not really into that electronic rave style of music, and they like doing it. I get it.
Sure.
It's also it's a good track for a live set when you want to when Mike and Chester want to take the break. For a minute, or when Chester wants to take a break, because Mike does play a little bit here and there, especially the keyboards and whatnot. So he might jump in, but they can get that break while the band kind of rocks out a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have it built in there, but yeah, I'm with you. Cure for the Itch was my least favorite.
Okay.
What about you, Kendra? What was your least favorite?
I gotta agree with both of you. I also thought it was really weird, Brandon, and it just felt like when, hip hop albums put those skits or whatever just
Sure.
there, and I'm not like a big hip hop person.
Sure.
So, and it just felt like it was just there. It was like an extra little piece there, like in the studio, and we're like, yeah, I guess we made it. I mean, whatever. But
Right.
yeah, just it didn't belong. It was the ugly redheaded stepchild.
Yes. Absolutely. 100%.
It's the cousin Oliver.
It's yes, all of that. 100%. Well, look at that, guys. We all agreed. That's
Doesn't
crazy.
happen very often.
No, it does not happen very often. But Steve, he's busy. It's time for our second game, Shatner's Poetry Slam. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen,
This is Shatner's Poetry Slam.
All right, guys. So I am in charge of Shatner's Poetry Slam today. So I've got 2 tracks for you. I'm going to read the lyrics as scatterbrained as William Shatner. I don't know what that means, but the man went halfway to space, so it says something. So, all right. Here is your first song. Forfeit the game before somebody else takes you out of the frame and put your name to shame.
Points of
Cover up.
authority?
What?
Points of authority?
It is.
Yeah.
Yep. Points of authority. Yep, absolutely. Nailed it.
That's such a good intro.
Yeah, it's so good. All right. Next one. Under the sky of dust, a constant wave of tension. On top of broken trust, the lessons that you taught me, I learned were never true.
I know.
Do you know it? Now I
Is it
find
Runaway?
It is.
Okay.
It is Runaway. Yes, it is.
I would not have gotten that one.
Nice.
tried.
You
I'm
were
sorry.
never in middle school when your mom made you mad. You put that on your Walkman and be like, "That's what I do too." I would be like, "This song just
I
gets
was a
me."
junior when this came out, or sophomore.
Oh,
I was a
my
junior when
I
this
think
came
I
out.
was 7th, 8th grade, just
Mhm.
with my little
Yeah.
my
That's
blue
funny.
Walkman.
Yeah. All right, guys. So let's talk about those deep cut dark horse tracks of this album. It's a little hard because I feel like everybody who knows anything about Linkin Park knows this album, and so finding a dark or a dark horse or like a diamond in the rough might be a little bit tough. So let's just kind of jump right into it. Steve, what about you? Let's start with you. What did you pick?
I picked a track that I kind of remembered, but then I forgot about as well, which is why I wanted to do the bonus album here, because my deep cut is from the bonus track.
Okay.
I picked My December.
Okay. It's a good track.
It's a track that Mike wrote to describe the pain and loneliness of being away from family around the holidays. I picked this because if you listen to the lyrics, it is eerie and really foretells a future that we all wouldn't have hoped to come true. Chester's vocals are nuts here, and the lyrics are so incredibly dark, knowing what we know now.
Mm-hmm.
The most interesting thing that I found about this track, though, and it's beautifully done. It's very deep, it's very dark, it's beautifully done. But this was actually written for a radio station's holiday release album. This is a Christmas song.
Oh.
It's like the
Oh,
saddest
nice.
holiday song I've ever really listened to, and I've listened to a lot of them.
It's like
But,
that
like-
movie Stepmom, how it came out around Christmas, and it was like This is depressing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like this
Yeah,
came out like
forgot about
I
that.
can't imagine like this rock station. It was a rock station in, I think,
Mhm.
Nashville, put out a holiday release, like special release album with
Yeah.
different tracks, and like you could have, I mean, for example, you might have the fucking Google Dolls singing like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, then you got, My December following that. Like, what the hell? Like, I was not ready for this. Like,
Right.
you can't do this to me. It's such a good track, and the fact that it didn't make it on any of their like standard albums, it had to be
Mhm.
involved in a bonus situation because of how it was released. I just felt like a lot of people probably haven't heard it, and if they have, like, listen to it again and kind of think about what we know, because holy jeez,
Mhm.
it's it'll make you think twice about more of the lyrics that they've kind of co-written together. So it's super dark and eerie, but I loved it. I loved the feel, and I love the fact that I shouldn't love it as much as I do.
Yeah, for sure.
What about you, Kendra? What was your deep cut?
I love Forgotten just because
Mhm.
that one is one of their best ones live. It gets you like really hyped, and I just like from the top to the bottom. It's just like chaos,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
that one's really good. But I do like My December as well. Yeah, but there were some on here where I did forget they kind of existed because like I love the other ones a lot more. So I was like, oh okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I felt the same way. Like, I hadn't
It's
listened
like
to this album probably in
little.
about 5 years.
Mhm.
The whole thing. I mean, I listened to definitely the big tracks, but I hadn't listened to the whole album in probably 5 years, and I was just like, I forgot some of these tracks even existed, like how they even like came up, and
Like
they
by
Yeah.
were
myself with you, I was like, oh okay.
Mhm.
yeah. And I remembered a few of them. There were some like middle of the road ones. I'm just like, I can't hate it. Like, it gets you where you gotta go, but yeah. Let me
Yeah,
see. What about you,
Yeah.
Brandon?
Forgotten.
What was your deep cut?
Oh man, well, it's not really oh man. I picked In the End. Now, In the End, not really a deep cut, like a not really like a dark horse
1.5
track.
billion plays. Oh,
Right. Not a dark horse by any stretch of the
Little B
imagination.
side.
little B
Right.
side.
Just a little B side
That
here.
little known
No.
track you guys haven't heard of.
Yeah, it's a little track, on the Mount Rushmore of Linkin Park tracks, but whatever. This track is a banger, always has been. The story that they're kind of talking about on this one is super deep, that up until like, I mean, I've been a fan of them, but at the same time, it's like I've never, because of this podcast, I tend to be more intentional now about listening to lyrics than I used to be in the past. And so when this song popped up, like I'm like listening to the lyrics more intently, and there's some deep emotion going on with this track. Um, that I was like, man, this is deep, and obviously musically as well. This one also just, it's super recognizable melody, makes
That dun.
yes,
Just
it's
like
just timeless.
your
Just
millennial senses tingle.
just yeah, the absolute
You're like,
100%. That it's just, I mean, the first couple notes, and you're just like, yeah, take me back, please, let's go. So
like
that
Mr. Brightside.
yes, 100%. Yeah, that's another one. That is another one for sure. So that one for me. All right, guys, let's talk about our final thoughts. Wrap this one up a little bit. To give our final thoughts, rate this thing from 1 to 10. I'll start. Final thoughts for me. Album stands the test of time, in my opinion. 23 years old at this point. Super good. I would consider it probably one of the top 10 greatest punk rock, electronic, new metal rock albums of all time, and one of the top greatest bands of all time, in my opinion. Musically, this brought back a ton of nostalgia. I'm so glad that we actually finally did just a simple Linkin Park album, Steve, and not the collaboration with Jay-Z. It's taken us long enough, right?
Right?
For me though, 8.5 out of 10. So, Steve, how about you, man?
Fantastic. Bears repeating one more time. 988 is a resource if you're having struggles. Listen to this album, you'll kind of understand why we keep plugging it, especially if you don't know what happened with Chester. If you do, I mean, you still, it's a resource. We talked about how mental health is changing in our country and our world, and how it's becoming more accepted to get help and to say you need help. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Use the resources we have. You are better off here. Album itself is iconic. I could seriously just end right there. be done. It is one that shaped a generation of people. It is still a favorite of so many different people of different walks of life. Music genre fans from hip hop all the way to country to classical. There's something for everyone here that will, as Kendra did put eloquently, this is the Nirvana of our time. This is going to shape our generation, especially. I do lump myself in the millennials begrudgingly, but we are there. Um, Linkin Park bridged gaps and spoke for a lot of people who didn't understand their own trauma, and I think it still does that. As I said before, the band itself wasn't changing the world musically, but Chester and Mike were making huge differences with their lyrics and delivery, opening up doors, breaking down walls. Um, the album will be nostalgic for a very long time coming. There's always going to be teenage angst. There's always going to be um, kind of those fears of the unknown and just the rage that is in every single one of our precious teenage hearts. It's still there. Um, the one note I will say, we mentioned this before, I never realized how much filler was on this album, and there is a few tracks that are kind of filler.
Yeah.
And like, oh, there's some fat here, which it happens. I never realized how much was actually there. That was really the only downside for me, and why I went with an 8 out of 10, instead of going a little higher, because there's a few tracks and I'm just like, okay, they're good, they're not bad, they're just kind of there.
Mhm.
So 8 out of 10 for me. I was right around with Brandon. So
Not
about you,
bad.
Kendra?
Well, like you said, they bridged a gap. I think they bridged that gap between new metal and emo music perfectly, and between hip hop and rap at the time, because this was like when One Step Closer came out, my school was fairly hip hop, but that was the one rock song they would play, and it got everyone together. So I think this is a band that no matter what your genre was growing up, you liked them because they were that good. And like, I agree with you. I think that the stuff we don't remember too well kind of brought it down in a re-listening, but not too much. It wasn't like, oh geez, like, was I wrong for loving this? No, not at all. So for that, I would give it a solid 9, because
Yeah.
everything else is still, you put it on and you're like, yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
I'm like instantly 13 again, looking
Yes.
out the window with my like Walkman, like my mom does not understand this.
True.
Like, she won't
100%.
stop for McDonald's.
Right.
It was always about like her not stopping for McDonald's,
Yeah. That's exactly what it
You
was.
had regular food at home.
Right.
which we didn't. So, she didn't cook. Let me tell you.
Oh, I love
That's
it.
so funny. Oh man. So guys, that was a lot of points out of 30. I can't do math right now, but it's a lot. 27 and a half.
There it is.
Is that what it was? Look at
Yep,
that.
that's what it
Look
was.
at that, me mathing. Oh man. Well, Kendra, thanks for coming and hanging out with us
Thanks
again.
for having me.
Before we get out of here, tell all of our tens of fans where we can find you.
Well, you can
Got a
find me.
Crushgasm sweater.
Yeah, it's my Valentine's Day present.
I love it.
Um, you can find me wherever you listen to podcasts, but also you can go to crushgasmpodcast.com where every episode's there, but also some fun little top 10s that coincide with the episode. And then I write a blog about my crush that coincides with the episode. So you get to know me more, my guests, everything. And we're doing Crushing on the 90s right now, which Steve was on. He talked about 1994. We talked about how our parents didn't care about anything we did. It's trauma, like this album. It's probably why we loved it so much. But yeah.
Probably.
Fantastic. Well, guys, go check out the show notes. We'll have that link there for you to go check that out. Make sure you go check it out. Steve's been on there a handful of times. It's a great podcast, great concept of a podcast. So, Steve, where can our kids find us?
Man. Well, there is
Where
something
can't
you
they
guys
find
could do.
us?
Where can't they find us? Exactly. If you are on the any sort of podcast network that you find us on right now, there is a link tree. You can find us there. Click on that. It's going to give you all of our links for all of our social medias, even Twitter. It's there, but
I
we
think I
don't
actually
use it.
took it off
Oh, you take it off?
Yeah.
Why did you take Twitter off there, Brandon?
because fuck Elon Musk, man.
There it is. So he probably didn't get a spot. We didn't save one. He is not sponge worthy. That's right. I made the joke.
Yeah.
You can find us primarily Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Yeah.
Right now we are pushing all three of those pretty heavy. But and this has been announced a few times now.
Mhm.
You can find us if you haven't found us there today. You can find us on YouTube.
Sure can.
And by the time of this podcast coming out, we will have had well over 50 hours of content on YouTube from this year.
Yep.
Almost every podcast from this year has been loaded onto YouTube and will be dropping before, hopefully by now. If not by the end of April, I'll have every podcast for the month for 2023 on there, and then I'm going to start working on 2022's heavy hitters.
Yeah.
All the stuff we have. So I'm going back through getting video edited
Yep.
and getting it all loaded up onto YouTube. So check us out there. I do post kind of fun stuff. You can find different content on all the different sites. So we do some stuff that's just Facebook only, just Facebook Reels or Facebook page there. We do stuff just solely on Instagram. That's mostly Brandon. And then we do stuff just simply on TikTok. We do intermingle some of those things sometimes, but not all the time. And like I said,
Because the
full
algorithms
episodes,
don't like each other.
they do not. They do not like that. So and then full
Especially-
episodes are always on
Especially
TikTok.
Facebook not liking TikTok.
They do not.
No.
Until they
Game
buy them.
Wars.
Yes,
Sure.
so we have to watch that. If not, we get in trouble, and they don't give us my 2 pennies we get every single month.
It's true.
So, the last thing I'm going to promote here, guys, if you are local to the West Michigan area, I want to put this out there now. This is coming out in early April. In the first week of June, Brandon and I are going to be hosting an event in the city of Wayland called Wayland Summerfest. It's going to be an all-day event actually happening on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Come on down and see that. We do have some other events we're going to be hosting as well, partnering with some of our friends from the Peaches, Demented Peach Comedy.
Mhm.
We don't have dates on those just yet, though, so I haven't given those out.
Yep.
But we're going to be having events, it seems like, almost every week this summer. We're going to be doing something somewhere.
Yep.
Come hell or high water. So you're going to see us publicly out and about all the way around. We're trying to increase our footprint out to do more stuff publicly. If you guys have events that you want promoted, you want hosting, you want anything done, get with us. We can do advertising for you, or we can even come and host the event. And that's anything from small market events to larger shows to festivals to weddings. We do it all. If you guys need some help, get with us and we'll see what we can do to help you out. And if we can't help you, we probably have friends that can help with your event as well. So we have a pretty good network of people in our area.
Yep.
But Brandon, do you have anything else?
Nope.
All right, guys. So this has been Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory with Kendra Beltran.
Nailed it.
I got it right. We will see you guys coming up next week. But until then, keep crushing it. Go check out Crushgasm.
Nice.
And we will see you guys on Tuesday.
Welcome back, everybody.